Welcome back to the Team English National Conference presentation that Fiona and I are doing on building a reading culture from the top down and from the bottom up. Fiona is now going to focus on whole school reading to improve academic excellence. So Fiona, can we start please with telling me a little bit about your context?
Yeah, thank you, Alice. And I hope everybody gets an awful lot out of these, because I think both myself and Alice are really passionate about reading and literacy. So my school, I've worked previously in a very tough school, very difficult school, high EAL, high free school meals, high pupil premium, facing a lot of challenges. And now I've gone completely to the other end, where I work in a private independent school. It's a very small school, class sizes are around 16, and we have really high achievers in our school. So I've gone from having to get students involved in reading and having to get students to infuse them to pick up a book, to completely the other way, which is now where I'm having to find myself stretching and challenging students so that we are able to actually impact them at a greater level for their results. So it's been really interesting. So yeah.
Brilliant, brilliant. So you're doing absolutely amazing work, and I've been impressed with you for years. And you follow in your footsteps, etc. So I first want to know about how you have cultivated independent reading for pleasure.
Okay, this is a really difficult topic, and when me and Alice spoke about how we were going to present this, one of the things that I really did want to get across was the importance of reading. And if we just go through some slides that I have tweeted some of these out. So last year I tweeted this out, and the slide was very much around what do you read? And what hopefully you'll notice about these with me and Alice is that we both read a lot. And last year I started this slide on Inset Day, and I challenged every member of staff to list, what have you read? If we started every single lesson after returning on term with a slide like this, what have we read? Now, I haven't read every single one of those books cover to cover. I'm not going to lie, some of them I'm still reading The Adventure of English, but I had started all the fiction books I did read that summer. This was my reading over a summer holiday. Why is that important? Well, we know that the Literacy Trust does huge research, and they test thousands of children. These aren't small isolated groups, these are thousands. And they do know that only less boys enjoy reading compared with girls. And out of the boys that do enjoy, that do read, they think it's boring compared to a much lower statistic than girls. And we know that the gap between boys and girls is there. There's so much on Twitter, the news, on television, there's books written about it. And it is really an issue that needs to be tackled in every single school. The problem is,
have you seen that in your own school, the difference between boys and girls?
We do see some boys admit that they don't like reading. The interesting thing at our school, and I should have said this at the start, is we're an 80% boys school. So actually we are a heavy boys school. And I'm very proud of everything we do, like most teachers are. Most teachers are very passionate about the schools they work in. But if you do look, eventually you'll see, I will give you my Twitter handle for my school. And if you go down there, you will see that we get above average results with boys, and our boys do read, our boys do write, so do our girls, and they do write very, very well. But we have to work at this. This isn't something that we can just think, oh, our students, because we're non-selective, so we do get all abilities and all ranges join our school. But as you can see, twice as many boys never write as girls. And SATs, even at primary school, this is an issue. Girls obtained a standard higher than boys, the expected age group. If you then look at how many times students read, when I first did this slide, I was putting this together for an Inset Day. As you can actually see, 26%, or 26.2 if we're going to be exact, only read once a month or less. Now, I have to look at this slide so many times to remind myself that's 12 times a year. 12 times a year, students admit to only reading. And you need to really think about that. 12 times a year, that's pretty shocking, because they're never going to get the results at any level if they don't read. And when you then look at what students admit that they enjoy reading, again, this comes from the literacy levels, the Literacy Heritage Trust. So it's mostly text messages, instant messages, and if you look at the actual types of reading, if we're looking at things like books, and articles, it's comics. Now, I don't have a problem with comics, and I do actually recommend students read comics. But if you're looking that boys read kind of more of this than overwhelmingly in all the other categories, the girls are higher than the boys, except in this one category for comics.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was really important that you are aware of that. All of this information is on the Literacy Heritage Trust if you want.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
of course, why is all of that important? If you give students, and this is from Alex Quigley's book, so if you give students a piece of text, and even just these 3 lines about baseball, first of all, you need to know the fundamentals of the game, the rules of the game, the strategies. You need to know what the terms. What's a ground ball? I don't know. A second baseman, bag, beat the throw. You need to know what all these terms mean. And of course, thirdly, you need to understand the context. So you need to understand the league, the teams. So is this good for this team or bad? Who are these people? And then there's actually the word, the vocabulary that's used in this. There's an enormous amount students have to get their head around to be able to take an exam. So for us, what we do is we promote reading at all levels and types. So we don't just promote fiction, we actually promote non-fiction articles, textbooks, encyclopedias. We promote reading of every single type. So that's why we why we try to do this kind of independent student.
And I know this is something you work on developing in students a lot. So that text for me is quite easy to understand because I know baseball, right? I'm an American, so so that's really straightforward. And it's about the background knowledge that you have. I know you've done a lot of work. I think we're going to explore that a little bit later. I was wondering what whole school reading strategies you have implemented. Oh, sorry. You select text to model reading in form.
Well, when we started this, we decided to bring in a form time reading. We decided to, and I will talk specifically about why we picked classics in a minute, but what we decided was form time. Twice a week, we're going to ask, like you did, we asked, can we have 2 forms a week? That's 40 minutes a week, where our students in years 7 to 10 listen to modelled reading. So they listen to an expert, the teacher, an adult reading. Now, that's not to say they're all expert readers. When I first introduced this on Twitter, actually, I had so much kickback, I was a little bit surprised. But the good thing about it was when I presented this to staff, the staff had the answers that we were then going to give them. Students make on average 8 to 10 months progress in small groups if they listen to examples of good reading. We brought in a tutor reading program, and they're the books we picked. I will, like I say, I will talk about why we picked classics, but one of the other reasons we picked classics is financial. The books work out at, I think, £1.80 each, brand new, and we cannot buy modern books for that price. They're about £6 to £8 a book. So to do this and bring in the initiative and a strategy at a ground level, we had to invest a lot of money. So we did go for classics as well because they were easier to buy, but they're also because of the challenge, which I will talk about in a minute. So this is one of the things that we have brought in whole school, and this is every single teacher. We've got science teachers, one of them, and Heidi. If you follow Heidi, she'll like this, getting a little name mention here. Heidi works at the grammar school close to us. She actually came to visit us and came into one of the form times where the PE teacher was reading to an all boys form. Just happens that he had an all boys form, and they were reading, I think at the time it was The Secret Garden, and it was phenomenal. She was so impressed, she walked away, because then you've got all teachers modeling good reading. So that's one.
Have you had some pushback from teachers who don't feel comfortable reading, particularly classics with the longer syntax and vocabulary?
We did a little bit. I got more of it on Twitter. So because I got this on Twitter and people coming back at me, what we then did was we had answers. So what we did is we offered as English teachers to come into lessons and model reading. We also said if you've got a student who is really confident at reading, then they can do it, although we do prefer the teacher to do it. I will stress that this is really about the teacher reading. But also we said you can use audio books. We would also get them study guides to help them understand the book a little bit more. But the big thing is they don't have to do any writing. There is, you can see, all they have to do is log the page number they're up to. We specifically did this so that there was no writing involved. You can have a discussion on a topic if the teacher feels comfortable, but this isn't about a second English lesson. This isn't about squeezing another English lesson into this. This is about modelling good reading.
Yeah.
And that was the purpose, and we focused on that. So we did offer that to all the staff, and the staff who ran this, and I will say some ran it better than others. Staff who ran this properly, they said they loved it. They loved doing it. So the other thing that we did this for, the other thing that I want to really promote, and I want to carry on doing, this is going to be an ongoing job, is I did ask, and there was something like 12, there was 1,266 votes. Lucky I actually put that on the bottom there. So we asked, how many homework do you set as reading in your subject, any subject other than English? Okay, and the results were actually really staggering. So and we asked specifically at Key Stage 3, but I did get a range of responses. We had 43% of people said rarely, and we had 35% sometimes. Only 22% of other subjects said that they actually do have reading set as homework. But what was really interesting about that was most of them were either Key Stage 5 subjects or primary schools. And what I found was the language that changed. So at Key Stage 3, it was very much like rarely, not very often, hardly ever. And then as you went down to Key Stage 5, it was always.
Yeah.
If you expect students to take an A-level in your subject and be able to get grips with the reading level and understanding and comprehension, you are not doing your students any favour if you don't set them reading in a topic. If you're covering something in, I hope I don't get a lot of criticism for this, I hope I don't, but if you're setting something in RS or geography or history or science, you know, particularly those, even PE, you're going to do something, a particular topic, why not set an article of somebody in that sports area that has written an article or a book? It can be a section from a book talking about them overcoming something. And it just links all the subjects, and it shows the importance of reading. Very few other subjects do it, so that's one of the things that we're continuing to work on.
Yeah, really, really impressive the way that you're using that. So it sort of links into the next question, which is how you have developed independent reading strategies.
Okay, so what we did, and this does link to the classic reading program we brought in, we wanted students to realise and understand why we set challenging text. And it is really important that we do this. So you'll see some of these are stolen from your slides. You'll see some of them are. So Alice, fantastic fun. She has it actually available. I think it's on her pinned tweet. So if you look at the difference here between the newspaper average readership age, and what they do is they take all the words, they put it through a test that tests the syllables in a word, the complexity, the clauses, and they come out with this reading age. Now the Sun is about 8 years old, and the Guardian is 14 years old. And what's really interesting about that is if you then look at the text involved in GCSEs, it's got a higher comprehension level than the Guardian newspaper. If you then look at two books, so we get a lot of Year 7s reading David Walliams. I know he's taken a real hitting recently on media, but if you look at the reading age, it's a real simplistic reading age. But if you look at something like The Secret Garden, which is our first novel in Year 7, look at the difference in reading age and the complexity of it. The other reason as well is it also ties in with our first project, which is the British Empire. So it ties in nicely about ideology. So that was coincidental in a way. What I also did is I looked then at the reading ages. Once I got into doing this, I started to look at an actual student's response. So what this is here is, I've typed this up from an AQA exam, so any English teacher will have access to this. This is a student's type response for a language paper 2. And it's got the 84, the nearer it gets to 100 means it's really simple, the nearer it gets to 0 means the harder it is. When you looked at a top band answer, so that was the bottom answer, that got the lowest score. When you look at the same answer responded by a top student, this got the highest score, and look at it, got 37.89 score in the fresh reading ease. Now, you can't ask a student to write like that if they don't see examples of this. They have to be able to see examples of articles, fiction, non-fiction, all the time to be able to construct the sentences. Now, this is actually taken from the AQA Examiners Board. And of course, the bit here is the bit in the middle. Students who are confident and familiar with these ideas were able to frame their responses. And it was these big ideas. They have to be able to read widely. Now, I know, Alice, you were in Freya, so she tweets under FOD3. So you were in Freya's recent talk on reading. And Freya talk about linking, and I love her phrasing of linking text across everything that you do, rather than call it wide reading. And I'm still trying to get out the habit of stopping to say wide reading, because if you want your students to read and have a reading culture in your school, there has to be links in subjects, in key stages, in everything you do, and then they can see that there's a bigger picture out there to all of this.
Absolutely brilliant. Yeah, really exciting stuff going on there. And I completely agree on the depth and breadth that we need to encourage students to have in their reading. But then, so then we go on to sort of the guidance that you would give to parents, because this, how do you get my child to read? I've heard that question so many times.
Well, before I get on to that, what I'll do is I'm just going to show you really quick, because I think one thing that hopefully teachers watching this will want is lots of ideas of things that they can implement. What you'll find with most things I implement, with the exception of probably the classics of form time, most of it is fairly easy to do. So we do reading challenges, so you'll see those. They're very simple. They don't have to do any writing other than log the book. We get all teachers to talk about what they're reading, and on World Book Day we give a book away to every single student in 7, 8 and 9. Now if you say, well, we don't have the money to do this, talk to Becky. Her school, she tweets under Shady Lady, they used to get local businesses to invest in the school, because obviously they're investing in the future. So get in touch with local businesses. In the bottom, what was really interesting listening to Alice's talk earlier, you talk about visiting, about having a really good library. If you don't have a great library, contact your library in the town. We took all of our students to the local library. They all sign up there. They do a workshop for free. They teach you how to use the library. And that is really nice, because again, you're showing them the importance that we took 2 hours their afternoon to take them down to the library. So again, it shows the value of it. I have a blog which anyone can read, and I recommend to my parents, this is in the middle here, of all books I read and recommend. We recently ran a competition to promote reading, and we did this on our Instagram account. We had loads of entries. I mean, that's just 2 screenshots of all the different photos. We had lots of them. This is really nice. Write a short shelf story. This is actually a Key Stage 2 students did this, and it's just a bit of fun. But again, it constantly reminds them of the importance of reading. This here was, we got all teachers to tell us, as soon as we went into lockdown, what are you reading? And the teachers told us. And here, I stopped in the playground one day, and you can see I took photos of individual students, and then I said, what is your favourite book, or what book are you currently reading, or what book would you recommend? And then I made it into a notice board. They loved that.
Amazing.
We do our projects. Now, this is a big thing. I've just actually blogged on this. So my project all around the world in a day. And this has been a huge impact. Now, how this falls into reading is we deliver a lecture, and then they have to go away and research the project. They have to read around it, and we give them really challenging sites. We give them the British Library to look at, with articles. We give them books, classics to read, and they have to go away and read around the topic and then create a project on it. Now, obviously, you've already seen in the top left-hand corner, you've seen this form time reading that we do. And obviously, you've seen some of those slides already. We run assemblies. So we run assemblies and we tailor them to Key Stage 3 or Key Stage 4, but those slides are taken from the Key Stage 4 assembly I did, and you can see some of them are the same. And this very bottom one down here, the 4th slide with the arrows, they're taken from Alice's PowerPoint, and it shows you that you need to have a reading age of around 16. We do knowledge organizers about those in a minute. I'll talk about those. So these are what we do for parents. How do we get parents on board? We run assemblies, we run evening workshops with parents. So we get parents in and we tell them the importance of reading, how to help your child read. And soon I'm going to be doing a step-by-step guide on all the things that I know you talk about. So Alice, you've got this lovely handprint with the 5 readings, so skim reading and everything. We're going to turn that into a small booklet for students.
All right.
And then the other thing that we do is we promote everything our students do. So this is my school's English Twitter account and my school's English Instagram account. I tweet far less on those than I do on my personal one. So if you do want to follow these, you can do, because I only ever promote what we do. Everything that our students,
you had a little tip about Instagram, right? That young people, if you want to people.
So this was really interesting,
Yeah.
and I don't always want to come across as negative, but what you've got to remember is students don't really engage with Twitter. This is more of an adult platform. Some students do engage with it, of course they do, and I do know teenagers have it, but they tend to prefer Instagram. It's all about the photos, the likes with them. So what I tend to do is put a small photo of something we're doing, and you can see this was Martha's her short shelf story, her Key Stage 2 one, but we put a small image on there and just a little bit of writing. And normally I do say, check your Firefly page, check emails, more details will come. What we've recently just done, and I'm really proud of this one, is we've just got senior school students to actually read a short story, a nursery rhyme, a poem, and we've uploaded it to SoundCloud, and then with a QR code, students can scan the QR code, takes them straight to the website, and they can listen to students at our school reading a story. And I've just
gives me goosebumps. It's amazing. I love
that. That is a real cute one. That is a real cute one. I can't lie. And I've just asked my year 8 class if in September would they all be willing to do it for a Krispy Kreme donut, and they've all said yes immediately. I do bribe students. I am not averse to bribing students anywhere I can. But what we do is we don't just feed them with unhealthy donuts before anybody criticises me. We give them house points. Sometimes we get certificates. We email home to parents. And what I do is I promote everything on these 2 platforms. So they see themselves and they see the pride I have in them. They see the pride I have in what they do and what they've done to achieve something. And I think there's only one slide after this. If you really are serious about building a reading culture in your school, whether it's from the ground up, whether it's from the top down, you need to be informed. You cannot do anything if you are not informed in what you do. And if I have to be honest, it's not good enough to just send a tweet out and say, how have you done this? Or that's great to do. You have to research your topic. You have to look into companies like the Education Endowment Foundation. You have to look at the Literacy Heritage Trust. You have to talk to people like Alex Quigley, who does have a Twitter account. Where can I look for more information on this? Talk to people like me and Alice. But at the end of the day, I don't want to say we're only teachers, because I don't want to diminish what we do, but we are teachers who have learned the hard way how to build a reading culture, and it's relentless. You can't do this by doing one strategy and thinking, I'll do that again next year. It's not one. If you look at everything we do probably, I mean, the classics runs all year, the projects runs all year. On top of that, we do reading challenges 3 times a year. We've just done those reading the book. We do promote reading competitions. Sometimes they just get a certificate. They don't get a reward. But what I also do is, if you check out a company called Book Life, so Book Life, I use them every year. That's who I get my books through. They do a mystery box of books for £50. So 50 books for 50 quid. And you can buy those. And for me, that's quite a cheap way of getting hold of a lot of books. So look at companies that offer, sorry, Alice.
Yeah, it's a good tip.
Look at companies who offer you discounts. Look at ways of getting people involved. Look at asking people to donate books that they no longer want. As you said, we've done that in our old school, and I could not believe how many books people dropped into the school. And we kept some of them were pristine, they were brand new. So research your area by closing the vocab gap, by closing the reading gap. Look at all these books that have been written that are actually founded on research and what you need to do to build a reading culture. And then you have to be relentless. You know, sometimes I'll send emails out, what are you all reading? I love your idea of the book bingo for teachers, because you must promote on your doors. These are cheap, they don't even cost nothing. Most of the things that we do not cost anything. Taking our children to the library for the afternoon was just, they missed one lesson of another subject which I gave back in probably another English lesson, and we just walked them to the library. They got to see this. It's a free service. Check out your library, get them to come in, get your library to come to you with a load of books and promote reading in your school. We contacted the local university and they bent over backwards to do a day for our year 11s.
Yeah.
You know, just ring people, email people. If you email someone and say, can you offer something? Also, we work really closely in Colchester with a company who offer free workshops. We work with them every single year. So actually look to see who offer free workshops. Contact authors. Now, we recently had a motivational speaker in our school, which was really nice. And I worked really closely with Stuart Pryke on this, and he brought a team of his students down. So don't just think I can't afford this. Get another school in. Local schools, email the heads of English and say, I want to host this event. If we can get X amount of students, we can get it down for £2 or £3 a ticket. So don't branch out to other schools. I do this all the time. I don't feel it's me and every other school in Colchester where I work. I actually think the really important thing is we're all great. Why can't we all just be great in our areas? So I email all the schools and say, do you want to be involved in this? And it's great. Heidi again was another one who wanted to be involved. She came along as well and listened to the talk. Get in touch with all heads of departments, see what you can do. And I think it's about just firing off a load of emails and see what comes back. Fire off a load of emails to local businesses, get them to invest in your students. A lot of them have money allocated for this kind of thing, for actually helping. Get in touch with Becky, Shady Lady. They did it at their school, and they ran a program where they gave a book away at Christmas to every student, which is just fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. So just loving the enthusiasm between the two of us. We're so passionate about this, and I talked about enthusiasm and relentlessness and being strategic and being resilient. And I think you've sort of added this being proactive, right? You just need to go out there and do the research, talk to people, ask what's worked in their context, adjust your own context, and try things. So go there, take some risks and persist. Even when some things don't go quite right, you can try other new things based on.
Absolutely. And what I'm hoping is the people who are listening to this, what I'm really hoping is you'll find so many of the messages that both myself and Alice have given are actually very similar. They're just tailored to our context. So they're very, very similar in what we do. We tackle things from parents, teachers, students, from outside organisations, from building a real love of reading. I will repeat this again. You cannot expect your students to read if you don't. You have to read a lot of young adult material, and actually some of it, I mean, a lot of it, I love it. There are so many books that I just love. And I actually wish I could go back to reading it for the first time again, because reading that book for the first time was just fabulous. And read loads of books. Get on Twitter, get on groups and read loads of books. Oh, you know what we should do, Alice? We should start a Twitter teacher young adult account.
There you go.
On that, so I might get on that. But
there you go.
Do it, guys. And we're always here to help. You've got our handles at the beginning of the first Alice talk, and get in touch with us. My glass is sliding.
That was a pure pleasure to talk to you about reading for the last hour and a bit, and to Team English National Conference for giving us the platform to do this. It's been absolutely.
And hopefully everybody again, hopefully that you listen to this, hopefully in 2021, because Caroline has pulled this together and it's been phenomenal what Caroline, Chris and Chloe have done. But hopefully in 2021, we will get to run Team English in person again. And hopefully, if you would like, I would more than happily share a room with Alice and we both talk again about reading and everything books. Okay?
Brilliant. Super.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'm trying to stop the recording.